So I'm going to skip the niceties. Tonight's episode is about one thing that every revolution dies without. It's not courage, and it's not strategy, it's not money, it's trust. So you can have the best chance and the sharpest theory and the wildest direct actions. But if people don't trust each other, the whole thing rots from the inside out. So tonight, we're talking about revolutionary accountability and the two main spine bones of it, which is radical honesty and radical empathy. Now, those are buzzwords online, so let's strip some of the glitter off. Radical honesty is not, I'm just being honest while you use your mouth as a weapon. Radical honesty is, I will tell the truth even when it costs me power, or approval, or comfort. Radical empathy is not, feel bad for everybody forever. Radical empathy is, I will actually look at the conditions that shaped your behavior, including the harm you caused, and see you as a whole human and not just your worst moment. Accountability in a revolutionary context is what we do with those two things together. Because here's the uncomfortable truth about it. We've been trained by this system to either hide everything or destroy each other when we're honest. We hide our failures so that we don't lose our place in a group. Or we shred people publicly and call it justice, and then wonder why nobody feels safe being honest. And the state loves this. Capitalism loves this. Authoritarian movements live on this. And if we can't tell each other the truth, the cops don't even have to infiltrate, because we'll just eat ourselves alive. And if we can't sit with someone's harm and the context it came in and the understanding of the capacity to grow, all we're doing is mirroring the very punishment systems that we say we want to abolish. So tonight, I want us to ask a couple of questions. What does accountability actually mean in radical spaces? How do we build cultures where people can tell on themselves before the state or the internet does? And how do we hold each other when harm happens without throwing survivors under the bus or treating people as disposable? And this isn't just movement talk. It's about your friendships and your relationships and your families, your crews, your coworkers. If we can't practice revolutionary accountability in the living room, then we're not going to magically do it in the streets. So, if you don't mind, take a breath. You're not here to be perfect. You're here to be real. And maybe, if you're brave, to be responsible for the impact that you've had on other people. Welcome everybody to Interviewing Humanity. So let's get into it. First things first, we're going to start off simple. Why does trust matter this much? In everyday life, trust decides whether you can leave your bag with a friend, tell someone your real story, or ask for help when you're at rock bottom. In a revolutionary context, trust decides who you're willing to stand next to when the police line advances, who you're willing to let into your organizing spaces, and who you believe when something goes wrong. The system we live under runs on mistrust. See, bosses don't trust their workers, and they implement things like surveillance and time clocks and write-ups. Cops don't trust the public, so they implement profiling, stops and searches, and cages. And politicians don't trust any fucking buddy, so they live off of secrecy and story spinning, classified every fucking thing. And we grow up inside of that. So most of us are carrying some version of, if I show my whole self, I'll be punished or abandoned. Which means even in radical spaces, people hide their mistakes so they won't be exiled, or they lie about their capacity and burn out quietly. Or they stay silent about harm because they don't trust the process or the people. And that's not a side issue. That is the death of movements. So in this first segment, we're just mapping the terrain of this. What does trust actually feel like in your body? What made you learn that people aren't safe or that you aren't safe? And how has that followed you into community and into activism or even into love? And we're not fixing it. We're just putting it on the table where we can see it. So I've got a couple of questions for the panel. First question, and I'll start off with John. When you hear the word trust, What do you feel first? Is it hope, fear, anger, something else?
When I hear trust, it's probably split right down the middle of hope and fear. Hope that uh, going forward, that regardless of my own fears, my own past history, that there is people that I can trust out there.
Okay. Thank you very much. Matriarchy. Can you remember a time that you lost trust in a group or a person that you cared about?
Mm, I was failed very early in life. Trust is not something I give.
Okay. Do you mind if I ask what happened?
Like, just neglect, abuse, and then foster care. So, further neglect and abuse. But, like, basically, what I tell people is I trust you to continue your current pattern of behaviors. And that is
Fair
all
enough.
I can trust.
Fair enough. Thank you very much.
Thank
Doberman,
you very much.
I'm going to ask you the question I asked John. When you hear the word trust, what do you feel first?
Fear,
Fear of what?
terror, because usually whenever somebody puts trust into me, at that point, I have to be my absolute best at all times in my head.
Okay. What about when you put trust into others?
Thank you very much.
I expect their best and I expect their honesty,
Okay.
regardless if it's going to hurt me or not.
Okay. Thank you. Small, what do you feel first when you hear the word trust?
Hesitancy. A little bit of optimism, a little bit of hope. But I don't. I think hesitancy is the best. Maybe apprehension.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bree,
Mhm.
have you ever hid something like a mistake or a bad choice because you were scared of being judged or kicked out?
Can you repeat that one more time, please?
Yeah. Have you ever hid something like a mistake, a bad decision, fuck, even like a substance relapse or something because you were scared of being judged or kicked out?
Yes.
Once.
Um,
Thank you
I've
very much.
been judged ever since I've been born because I've acted different. My behavior's been different, as you know from what I've told you, like how I've been treated.
Yep.
Grade school, family, friends, strangers, whether good or bad, it's just, you know. And when you ask the question, like, what do you feel when the word trust comes to mind? I feel like I'm gambling. Like, should I put my money on black or red? Like, I'm either going to win or I'm going to lose. Win it all or lose it all. And when trust is broken, I visualize it as a broken glass. It doesn't matter how much tape or glue you put on that glass, the water's going to slip through the cracks. And there was a good quote that I heard in a movie. You think unaliving is hard? Try healing something. That is hard. That requires patience. You can break something in 2 seconds, but it can take forever to fix it. Like you can break trust in seconds. It can take forever to like full, not even, it will probably never go back to like that trust, but it will just take forever to like feel that like, oh, can I trust this person again?
Okay. Thank you very much.
So it's just like gambling. That's what I feel like when I hear the word trust. I feel like I'm gambling with my emotions, my life, my heart, just my everything. So that's just what I feel.
Okay.
My
Thank you.
love, respectfully, that filter makes me nauseous.
Okay. I'll change it. After I ask Sparky a question, Sparky, in your life right now, where do you feel the most trust? And where do you feel the least?
Where do I feel the most trust and where do I feel the least?
Yeah.
I feel the most trust with my right hand dude, my roommate Alex. I feel the least trust anywhere outside of my home.
That makes sense. And to dig a little into that, if you don't mind, why?
I trust Alex the most because we've both seen each other at very close to our lowest points and had love for each other either way, even though it was messy, it was loud. Um, I don't I don't feel trust outside of my home because of what's going on in this country.
That makes sense. And thank you very much. So now we're going to drill into the first pillar of trust, which is radical honesty. And yes, I'm fucking Santa Claus. Get over it. So we've all seen honesty used as a club against people. I'm just telling it like it is, or I'm just being honest. Usually followed by something cruel, dehumanizing, or reckless. And that's not radical honesty. That's aggression with a morality glaze on it. Radical honesty in a revolutionary context sounds more like I messed up, and here's how, here's who it affected, and here's what I'm willing to do to repair it. Or I'm out of my depth in this role, and I don't actually know how to do this safely. Or I feel jealous, scared, or ashamed, and if I don't name it, it's going to leak out sideways. Or even I benefited from this harm or this system, and I want to stop pretending that I didn't. And that kind of honesty is terrifying because it risks status. You might lose your role or your clout, your image. You might have to take a step back or step down from a position or even step aside. But without that, all we have is PR, even in radical spaces. So let's name some common patterns. There's image management, people building a persona as the good one, the reliable activist, the radical educator, the perfect survivor, the never harmed anyone angel. Underneath, it's just a hotbed of unspoken harm. There's silence being used as strategy. If I never admit my part, maybe it'll blow over. It doesn't. It just fractures trust. And then there's selective truth, right? Folks will be brutally honest about other people's failures, but absolutely allergic to sharing their own. Radical honesty doesn't mean sharing every detail of trauma with people who haven't earned that level of access, or confessing in unsafe conditions, or even giving the state, your abuser, or your boss ammo to hurt you. It means we build spaces and cultures where truth-telling is protected and valued, and where repair is a possible thing. Online, we've got call-out culture and cancel culture and call-in culture, and all of those conversations are people trying very clumsily and angrily and vulnerably to figure out accountability without any kind of roadmap. Movements like transformative justice and community accountability say that we deal with harm inside of the community with a focus on safety and healing and change, and not just punishment. Radical honesty is a doorway to that. Tonight, we're not going to draw a perfect model, but we are going to talk about what it takes to tell the uncomfortable truth when the whole system taught us to lie, hide, or retaliate against it. So, first question, and again, I'll start with John. Have you ever been honest in a way that you later realized was actually just you lashing out?
hopefully you're not wanting just a single example, but I feel like the older I've got, the better I've got at realizing that I have a problem of maybe not giving people appropriate feedback at times, maybe metering what I should be letting them know. And I used to have a bad problem with letting things build up to a point where by the time I say something, I'm saying all of it and well and above beyond what I should. So,
Yeah. And what changed your perspective?
hurting people.
Yeah. That'll do it. Thank you very much, John. Matriarchy. What's one truth about yourself or your behavior that was the hardest to admit, even to yourself?
Either that, like, I can be the villain in other people's stories, or like that, like, sometimes being smart just makes you the asshole. Like, you can be right and still be an asshole. Like, which, again, like, I'm obsessed with yin and yang, so like being a villain is not always necessarily a bad thing. Like, I am still fully convinced that Thanos had the right idea and the wrong execution. It's a conversation for another day. But like, just, I don't know, like, I have been accused of black and white thinking a lot, so like trying to see more broader scope of things is like, it's hard.
Okay. Thank you very much. Doberman, have you ever watched someone in activist spaces protect their image instead of telling the truth?
A lot of times, yes.
What does that do for your trust?
It fractures it, makes it start to degrade, or depending on the action that's being covered up, loses it entirely, and builds resentment.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of it too.
Yeah. I think we all have been at least once. Thank you, Doberman. Small, what about you? Have you ever been honest in a way that you realized was actually just you lashing out?
I know I have, and I want to say that it was probably like fighting with my mother because while we're besties, we're also extremely similar. We both know exactly which buttons to tap dance on to get the other one over the edge. And I know there's been times when she has flung some statement at me that was intended, and I know like instinctively that it was intended to get at me, to get under my skin, and I know that I've done it back, but I can't think of like a specific example, but it never makes me feel better. You know, it's like, great, okay, you know, you hurt me, I hurt you back, now the fuck what?
Thank you. Bree, what's one truth about yourself or your behavior that has been the hardest to admit, even privately?
Hardest truth. That I'm never gonna be fully okay. That I realized like this happened to me when I was 4. This happened to me when I was 8, when I was 12, and many more times before I reached the age of 16. I'll talk to y'all privately, individually, if you want to know more details about it. I realized that it doesn't matter how much therapy and psychiatric help and support I have from you all and from people, I will never be fully okay, and I've come to realize that that's okay. And I had to realize that maybe this was meant to happen to me, because somewhere out there there's going to be another little girl or girls or boys or whoever who are going to need a voice to stand up for them, and that voice is going to lead to actions. And so that's why, I've decided that I'm never going to be fully okay, and that's okay. But I do know that I won't always feel like this. This pain that I'm going through, the harsh truth that I realized, it won't ever go away. But I know there are days in the future where I won't feel it every minute, and the anger and sadness and just regret and just like everything that follows, it won't be so vibrant. And I know that's going to be the best part, and that's going to be the prize of it all.
Okay. Thank you. And Sparky, what kind of environment would make you feel safest saying I messed up?
An environment that I would feel safest saying I messed up in would be one that has my dog there. Um, they're more than just my dog. He knows when I'm triggered and bothered, and he is affectionate and accepting of me through it. Um, but it would also be a space where the people that I'm with are able to hold me accountable without completely breaking me down, and potentially offer ways that I could do better and be better.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind. Thank you. So, the second pillar of trust is radical empathy. Now, empathy gets sold as a vibe, just be nice, or an endless self erasure. Understand everyone so much that you never say no. Radical empathy is much sharper than that. It says people are more than the worst thing that they've done. People are also more than the worst thing that's happened to them. And we must look at both harm and history if we want real change. A lot of us came from homes, schools, churches, or streets where nobody cared why you did something. Only what rule did you break, and here's your punishment. Others of us grew up where everything was excused. If you understood their trauma, you wouldn't be upset, even while we are actively being hurt. Radical empathy doesn't erase boundaries. It holds two truths as once. You caused harm, and you're not a monster carved into stone. You are hurting, and that does not give you the right to hurt others without consequences. In our movements, we're often dealing with people carrying PTSD, addiction, chronic poverty, racism, ableism, transphobia, homophobia, colonial trauma, internalized messages like, I'm disposable, I'm unlovable, or if I'm not useful, I'll be abandoned. If we skip empathy, we just recreate the punishment system with a different slogan. If we only have empathy and no boundaries, we burn out and let abuse run unchecked. Radical empathy is not a feeling. It's a constant practice. Listening for context. Not to excuse, but to understand what needs change. And recognizing your own limits and saying, I care, but I can't be the one to hold this. And seeing people as future versions of themselves and not just their past. So my first question, and I'll take this to Sparky to start off. Have you ever had someone show you real empathy when you felt the least deserving of it?
I don't think so. I feel as though especially through my childhood, there was no empathy. And the reason why I said I don't think so is because since I did not have empathy modeled as a child, I still struggle to see that modeled to me when I need to be corrected.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. What's up, Dev?
We love you. You're very
Bree,
special.
have you ever forgiven or empathized with somebody and then later realized you were erasing your own pain in the process?
Yes. um, it happened with my mother, and I was 12 or 13, 14, I think. I just was like, I wanted to forget, and I was trying to forget all the bad things that she was doing to me and that she did to me and she allowed happen to me. I mean, she let a man take advantage of me, and I tried to forget that. And I remember my dad saying this, that, and the other about her, and using curse, vile words that I thought were vile at the time. And then I thought, why am I erasing my pain to validate like what she did? Like, and I used to think like, was she in pain? Did the same thing happen to her? And I'm just like, whatever happened to her, she didn't have the right to project that pain onto me, mentally, physically, emotionally, psychologically. So I was erasing my pain to make a new reality of like what she did was okay. And it wasn't at all. It happened, and one day I will forgive her, not for her, but for me, because I cannot let a monster like that hold power over me. So
Fair.
that's what I'm
Thank you.
going to say.
Thank you very much. Small. Where's it the hardest for you to have empathy with yourself or with others?
Want an example of each, or are you asking to pick between the two?
Whichever you're more comfortable expressing.
Um. I mean, with others, when someone is a horrible, hateful Nazi cunt, I have little to no empathy for that.
Me too.
And like, yes, we're all people. I don't think people should be dehumanized. I don't think it's fair to say that's not a man, that's a creature, or whatever. Oh my god, that was so loud. I'm so sorry. I think it's very important to keep their humanity within scope, because humans can and will do terrible things, and they need to be held accountable for it. You can't, or that's like saying that's not a man's action, that's a little boy. No, that's a full-grown adult man who should be acting like a full-grown adult. They are responsible for the way they move through the world and how they treat people. Not just men, by the way, just in general, bigots, whatever. For me, I think, like, I'm very traumatized. That's not a secret. And I think when the, I don't know, quirks, I don't have a better word, when the behaviors that I know are based in trauma get in my way or get in the way of like people I care about, that's really hard. And it makes me angry on some level, like, or frustrated maybe, both at myself and the fact that I'm like this in the first place, because I didn't fucking ask for this, and it fucks up my life all the time.
Thank you. Doberman, have you ever forgiven or empathized with someone and later realized you were erasing your own pain?
Yeah. Um, Same person that I told you about today, except it was in the past, or I guess later than current. Um, the person went behind my back after I moved 900 miles away, left my job, my friends, my support system, my entire life, and began treating me as I'm the one who works while she goes out and travels with somebody else. That whenever that was promised to me, and I forgave her. And now I realize that that harmed me so much more than it did her.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, it just sucks. Matriarchy. Have you ever had somebody show you real empathy when you felt least deserving of it? And what did that do?
No, I just basically, like, you know, the canary in the coal mine trope. You see shit, nobody gives a shit, then you start screaming. Everybody's like, oh, you're crazy. And then you're just like, okay, I'm going to go be by myself now because y'all suck. It's just that on repeat.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for sharing. John, what's a boundary that you had to set that actually protected your ability to care?
I I'm an enabler at times for people, and especially the people that are close to me, I tend to fawn. It's harder for me to tell the people that I'm closer to or hold them accountable, I guess. Um, have hard conversations with them. And I don't know so much if it was me establishing a boundary for them or for myself, but I physically, it's part of why I'm here. I physically had to move myself to a place where I could not be a safety net for that person anymore. But it allowed us to actually have the opportunity for real, deep, and meaningful conversations. Process the things that we were going through. It's still something I'm working on, but yeah.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for sharing through this one. So, I want to talk about who profits, because punishment is profitable. Accountability just so happens to be very dangerous to empire. So let's follow the money and power. Prisons, police, courts, HR departments, surveillance tech, whole fucking industries exist to label people as bad, strip them of their rights, control their bodies and their labor, and then sell safety to everyone else. If our response is to harm, is always kick them out, lock them up, erase them, then we're not threatening the system. We're mirroring it. Does that mean there's never a time to remove someone from a space? No, there absolutely is. Safety matters. And there's situations where survivors, targets, and communities need distance and protection, especially from ongoing harm. But if that's the only tool that we have, then, well, people become terrified of admitting their mistakes. Abusers learn to hide better instead of changing. And movements get easily infiltrated and destabilized because there's no internal culture of truth and repair. Only image protection and an immediate exile. From the state's perspective, this is a perfect thing. We're too busy tearing each other apart to build power. We're too mistrustful to organize. We're too scared of being the next one canceled to be honest about our own growth edges. Now, revolutionary accountability demands that we will not let you harm people. We will not let you be disappeared by the state either. And we will face what happens and decide together how safety and repair and transformation can look, if it's possible at all. And that's terrifying to power structures because it builds resilience, because we can handle conflict without collapsing. It builds security because snitches and abusers have so much less room to operate. And it builds loyalty. And not blind loyalty, but grounded trust that if I tell the truth, I won't be instantly destroyed. See, the propaganda machine wants us to believe that people can't change. Some people are just evil. And only the state can handle them. And revolutionary accountability disagrees. It says people are shaped. People can be held. And people can change sometimes. And where they can't, or they won't, we protect ourselves without surrendering our humanity. So, first question for the panel, and I'll take this to John. Where do you see the punishment mindset showing up in activist spaces or online spaces?
That is kind of, sadly, I hate to say it's intrinsic. It seems like deeply systemic within our spaces. It's this weird mirror that we're so willing to call it out, but also engage in it. A lot of times, you'll see someone has a past or a history, and it's hard to, really even hard to say this, but instead of this person, either messed up or this person has a history of continuing to do this because they have a problem, they need help, or they need education, we're willing to completely disregard what they have to offer. We'll say us as a group, because they may still have things, they may still have expertise, they may still have stuff that they can offer, and decide that, holy no, they did this one thing, they're never going to be better, and I do think that there are some lines that do need to be drawn, but at the same time, it seems like I can't think of the term, but we end up recreating the same structures that we fight against.
Yeah.
Leftist infighting, it's a thing.
Yeah. It's one of the reasons why the far right always gets more traction, because they don't care about holding each other accountable. And we do. But some of us let it get in the way of restoration and community building. Thank you, John. Matriarchy. You ever seen someone get completely destroyed publicly, and did it actually make anybody safer?
I mean, look at like the Dean dude, or maybe it's Parker. I don't know. They were talking about two generic dudes at the same time. Both are crying over a Yahtzee. So, like, that didn't change anything. Like, no matter how many think pieces were done on it, no matter how many, like, times people pointed out that the only reason that they have money is because they followed him around like a fanboy to, like, debate
Thank you
him,
very much.
and that didn't change anything. Like, I just really feel like debating bigotry makes bigotry debatable, but, like, I don't know where I was going with this. Basically, like, I feel like a lot of shit doesn't actually do what we think it does.
Yeah. Thank you. Government, who do you think benefits from us believing that people are incapable of change?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, who do you think benefits from people believing that people aren't capable of change?
Well, I mean, it's the system that is currently built on keeping us down. System built on keeping us compliant, keeping us
Thank you
vulnerable.
very much.
Sorry, the soundboard. The just current system right now that's in place is the pretty much the only thing that benefits.
Yeah. Thanks, bud. Small, what about you? Have you seen somebody get completely destroyed publicly, and did it make anybody safer?
I wish I could come up with specifics, but just in general, I'll try to keep it relatively brief here, but like, I think we have a lot of cultural indoctrination surrounding like punishment and like carceral systems of justice, right? And this is why I'm a prison abolitionist and someone who champions restorative justice. I think it's the only way to responsibly deal with this shit and keep people genuinely safe, keep people accountable in a way that actually heals harm. Because if someone fucks up and you just throw them in a cage to be further traumatized and isolated, you know, and then you remove avenues for them to like get out and restart their life, you know, like the ability to vote, or like how people won't hire felons, so on and so forth. There's also intersections with shit like deeply ingrained racism, you know. But I think that attitude, the way we deal with quote unquote criminals and bad guys in our culture, kind of trickles down and permeates the way that people, even on the left, handle other people. I also see this all the time with fucking rad femmes and swerfs and turfs. Oh, you're anti-cop until it's a fucking sex worker. Then you're like, oh yeah, go and bust him up, deport them. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Anyway, I digress. Yeah, you gotta kill the fucking cop in your head. You gotta fucking stomp out that voice that says someone should suffer because they did a mistake. And like, ask yourself, how does harm actually get healed? How does it actually get fixed? Because punishment is not going to teach someone to be any better.
Yeah. Correct. And thank you.
Oh, I thought you were asking me a question. My bad.
Bree,
Yeah.
question for you.
Yeah.
Where do you see the punishment mindset showing up in activist or online spaces?
Can you like explain like the question of that? Because I'm kind of having like a tough time mapping it out in my head.
Where do you see most in, let's just say, social settings, the punitive punishment systems?
It's a kind of a hard question. Hold on. I'm trying to plug my phone in and charge it so it doesn't go
You're good.
longer than me. I'd say I see the most interaction when it comes to what again?
So social spaces. Where do you see
Social spaces?
in social spaces? Where do you see the punishment mindset or the punitive punishment mindset?
Punishment mindset. I would say that I see the most of it in the wrong places because I see the wrong people getting chastised and things along those lines of like, oh, in the wrong places. I feel like we're not seeing it enough in the correct places. Like, even when we're calling opposition out, we need to call like our friends out too. Like,
Yeah.
I feel I see too much of it in the wrong place. Like, if I see something that's like taken out of context and or said something wrong, that person will be immediately chastised and given the side eye. Like, oh, are you siding with the enemy now, or are you changing your mind? I'm like, no, they just said the wrong thing, and they weren't allowed to, explain themselves, or not allowed to explain themselves enough. So I feel that I see too much of it in the wrong place and not enough of it in the correct place.
Okay.
So, especially when it comes to the left, because there are a lot of things that they do wrong, and I'm just over here like, do your fucking job. Like, you're doing your job, but do it better. Like, because there are people who are losing their lives right now, and you're just sitting on your ass.
Okay.
So, sorry
Thank
if
you
that
very
makes
much.
sense. That's like the best way I could like map it out in my head.
No, that made perfect sense. Thank you.
And also, I'm gonna be heading to bed because it's like 3:46 and I gotta do stuff today.
Absolutely.
Good
No
night,
worries.
Bree.
Thanks for coming.
All right.
Good night.
Everyone
Great to
here,
see
you have
ya.
an amazing night.
You too.
And yeah, I will talk to you later.
All right.
Bree, we're here
Have a
if
good
you
night.
need us. Okay.
Yeah.
I know. It's just I don't want to burden anybody.
You're not
so.
a burden. Help is being freely offered. Okay.
Yeah,
It's just
exactly.
I've been, like I said, chastised for asking for help.
Well, you're not going to experience that here.
So
That.
Sledge,
Yes.
it's always a pleasure. I hope you all have a wonderful night.
You as well.
And I will talk to y'all later today.
Okay.
Good night.
Take care.
I can vouch for that.
If anybody in the chat would like to come up and have a conversation about radical honesty and radical empathy, please go ahead and throw a request up. We'll bring you in and get to the conversation. Sparky, my question for you. What do you think scares governments and corporations about communities practicing their own forms of accountability?
I think that it scares the government and empire because they would lose power and legitimacy, and they wouldn't have people to do slave labor, so they would also lose capital.
Thank you very much.
That is a damn good point. Thank you. So, this next and final segment, we're going to talk about solutions and reclamation. Essentially building a culture of trust instead of a culture of perfection. I want to get practical about it because if we want revolution or accountability, we need habits and not just slogans. Some starting points to go with. We have to normalize small truth telling. Things like, I'm late because I slept through my alarm, instead of creating some dramatic story. Or admitting I can't take that on because I don't have the bandwidth, instead of overcommitting, ghosting, and burning yourself out. or simply stating I'm feeling jealous or threatened or insecure instead of
Thank you very
sabotaging
much.
your relationships. We have to create agreed upon processes before crisis happens. Who do people go to when harm happens? How do you center the person harmed and not the reputation of the group? And what options exist besides nothing or exile? And we have to design spaces where people can tell on themselves. We can practice things like regular check-ins, like where did we mess up this week? Create leadership culture that models vulnerability. Here's where I failed. Here's what I'm doing differently. And use clear signals. If you come forward early, we'll work with you and not ambush you about whatever it is. We have to train ourselves in conflict mediation and repair. And it comes with basic skills: reflective listening, nonviolent communication, boundary setting, apologies. We got to practice scenarios, role play conflicts, and how to handle them with honesty and empathy. And we need to start bringing people in who've done transformative justice work or community accountability work to share their tools. We also have to remember that sometimes the most accountable thing is just stepping back. Good night, matriarchy. If you've caused harm or are in active crisis, accountability can mean leaving a leadership role, limiting your access to certain people or spaces, or doing long-term healing work without demanding trust back on your timeline. The point isn't to become flawless. It's to become trustworthy. Not perfect, but predictable in your willingness to face truth and repair harm. Revolutionary accountability says we are building a world where people can change. And we're also building a world where people are protected while that change is attempted, or when it fails. And that requires courage and patience and fucking boundaries. But if we don't build this, every victory is going to be temporary, because we will carry the old world's punishment logic into the new structures and call it justice. I'll keep calling it Rome. So first question, and I'm going to take this to Sparky. What is one concrete practice that you would like to see in every movement space to support accountability?
That's a good question. One concrete practice to bring into revolutionary spaces to assist with accountability. Within, oh goodness, Small just said it. Small, can you remind me the justice term?
Restorative justice?
Yes, in restorative justice spaces. Yes, 100% believe the victims. When having these conversations, there needs to be supports for the victims as well as debriefing for victims after the conversations to help with recentering their emotions and regulating how they're feeling.
I like that. Thank you. Small, what does a trustworthy person look like to you? And what do they do consistently?
I have some very concrete examples. One thing that I think I've mentioned to you before that comes to mind. Every time I tell you that there's something I want to talk about that bothers me, or something that I'm afraid of, or something that makes me insecure, or something that I didn't like the way it sounded, whatever it is. Every time I bring you that and you meet me with like calmness, gentleness, understanding, On the rare occasions it's needed an apology. That makes me trust you a little bit more, especially because I'm a very, like, yes, I'll tell someone to fuck off really easily, but like when it comes to the relationships that are really important to me, I'm really conflict averse, and it makes me shake every time, but I have the conversations anyway because I think it's necessary, right?
Yeah.
What was the what? Can you restate the question? I got confused.
Yeah. What does a trustworthy person look like, and what do they do consistently?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. They have these conversations that in a way that is calm, that's self accountable. They work on working together to build a plan towards further healing or safety for the other person. They're consistent. They don't just do all the good things in the beginning and then slip as time goes on. Um, and also, they're able to catch stuff on their own, at least some of the time, um, so that it's not on the other person to clean up after them, essentially.
Okay. Thank you. Really though, thank you. Doberman, have you ever watched a conflict get handled well, and what made it different from the others?
Only a couple times. Instead of there being a point blame, pointing the finger and blame game, um, it was a mutual understanding of the problem and the error that occurred, and they worked together to find a solution for it instead of holding on to it or I think the word chastise or criticizing each other for it.
Thanks, bud. And John, what's one way you personally want to show up with more honesty and more empathy starting this week?
One way that I want to show up with more honesty and empathy. I think the first thing I need to do is continue working on establishing boundaries that don't need to be, like I said in the beginning, I don't need to wait until that boundary needs to be such a extreme or hard boundary. I can start laying the groundwork for that beforehand, because I know that for me, when I don't do those things, I internalize a lot, and it causes physical burnout to where I can't show up, and that's just me repressing, avoiding conflict, avoiding saying how I'm feeling. So voicing how I am doing before it gets to that point, I guess.
All right. Thank you very much, bud. So I want to land this. I want to land this whole plane on something simple and kind of heavy. A revolution without accountability is just a rebrand of domination. We can swap out flags and slogans, leaders, laws, but if the culture underneath it is still hiding your mistakes and destroying anyone who gets caught or worshiping the untouchable hero, then we haven't changed anything. We just put on a different fucking uniform. Accountability isn't about public shame. It's not about feeding some fucking algorithm with the latest downfall. It's about asking what harm happens, or when harm happens, and it fucking will. What are we going to do about it? We're not going to agree on every answer. I can't expect everyone to agree on every answer. There isn't one script that fits every situation, but there are some anchors that we can hold. Radical honesty means we refuse to build our movements on lies, even noble ones. We admit where we're complicit, where we benefit, and where we have failed. Radical empathy means we refuse to become what hurt us. We hold people as complex creatures and not cartoon villains or spotless saints. We center safety and healing and not revenge that we parade around as righteousness. Revolutionary accountability means we stop outsourcing moral questions to cops and courts, HR departments, or social media mobs. We start crafting our own responses that we root in protection and repair and transformation. I'm going to be real, this is hard. Many of us have never seen accountability done in a way that wasn't abusive. And we've seen reconciliation that's been used to silence survivors. We've seen forgiveness weaponized to demand that we swallow our pain while sitting quietly in a corner. So if you feel skeptical or angry or scared hearing all of this, that is honest, and it's good. It means that you're awake to the situation. And you're allowed to say, I don't trust that person and I don't have to. You're allowed to say, I don't feel safe with repair and I need distance. And you're allowed to say, I can hold this or can't hold this and I need support. Accountability that erases your boundaries is not revolutionary. It's just another form of control. But here's the other side of it. If we never risk honesty, if we never risk empathy, if we never risk sitting in the mess long enough to see what could be rebuilt, then we stay locked in a world where every conflict is going to be a war, and every mistake is going to be a death sentence, and every single movement will be one scandal away from collapse. The foundations of trust are not built in our best moments. They're built when the worst thing happens, and we decide that we will not lie about this. We will not abandon each other to the state. We will not abandon survivors to loneliness, and we will not abandon ourselves to shame. We will tell the truth. We will see the whole human. We will protect those who've been harmed, and we will offer pathways to change and accept that not everyone will walk them. And we will keep trying, because the world we say we want, which is a world without cages, without police terror, and without disposable people, requires us to practice that world today in tiny, clumsy, imperfect ways. So tonight, as I end this episode, I want you to ask yourself, if people knew the whole truth about me, would they be safer or more in danger? And if the answer scares you, that's not the end. That is the doorway that you have presented to yourself. Revolutionary accountability is not about being unblemished. It's about being willing to walk through that doorway together with radical honesty, radical empathy, and a stubborn commitment to building trust sturdy enough to survive what's coming. Because without trust, there is no revolution. There's just chaos and branding. But with trust, we have a chance. I want to thank everybody for walking through this with us. As always, this has been Interviewing Humanity. I have been Sludge Knuckle, and you've been amazing. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and for the love of God, tell the truth, especially if your voice shakes. Panel is open. If anybody wants to come up and hang out, you're more than welcome.